COVID vaccine. I'm Natalie Brand with what that means, plus what President-elect Joe Biden is saying about President Trump's continued refusal to concede.
County commissions across southeast Kansas are once again considering mask mandates. And we look at NASA's plan to study rising sea levels.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
There's a major development today in the race to get a COVID-19 vaccine approved. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes. The White House Coronavirus Task Force says distribution of a vaccine could begin in weeks. Natalie Brand has the latest news from the White House.
Drug maker Pfizer is requesting emergency use authorization for its COVID-19 vaccine today.
If the data is as solid as it appears, we literally could be weeks away from the authorization of a 95% effective vaccine.
At its first public briefing in months Thursday, the White House Coronavirus Task Force said despite progress on a vaccine, it's critical Americans wear masks and social distance, with cases and hospitalizations skyrocketing.
If you're fighting a battle and the cavalry's on the way, you don't stop shooting.
As President-elect Joe Biden prepares to inherit the pandemic, he calls President Trump's refusal to allow the transition process to start irresponsible.
If we don't have access to all this data, it's going to put us behind the 8 ball by a matter of a month or more. And that's lives.
President Trump invited top Republicans from Michigan State's legislature to the White House Friday. It appears to be part of an effort to overturn results in a state he lost by more than 150,000 votes. The unprecedented invitation comes a day after President Trump's personal attorney Rudy Giuliani held a news conference filled with baseless claims but no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
I know crimes. I can smell them. You don't have to smell this one. I can prove it to you 18 different ways.
This morning, Georgia's Secretary of State, a supporter of President Trump, made clear Mr. Biden won his state.
I'm disappointed our candidate didn't win. I believe that the numbers that we have presented today are correct.
President-elect Biden, who turns 78 today, is scheduled to meet with top congressional Democrats this afternoon. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Well, Tennessee Senator Lamar Alexander has become the latest Republican lawmaker to call on the Trump administration to provide the Biden team with transition materials and resources. Well, the wind is gone, but rain could be on the way. Michael Hayslip joins us with a first look at the forecast.
And the clouds are already upon us. Now, you were talking about the rain. If we throw on the sweeping radar from the Skywatch Storm Tracker, not picking up any precipitation as of yet. It's not going to be one of those things that we can actually track into us. It's almost going to develop right in the central portion of the 4 states. Overcast skies now at the Freeman Health System sky camera. 69 degrees though, so once again cruising above our average for this time of year, with the wind finally beginning to die down. We've even thrown up 70s down to the south in Miami and Oswego, 66 in Fort Scott, and even the cooler temps that we had in the northwest in Yates Center and Iola still able to make it above the 60s. And then how about the 70s still in Monette and Cassville? We've kind of topped out temperature wise, not going to see much of an afternoon bump, so we'll go ahead and just kind of hang high 60s, low 70s for the most part. And as Tanya was talking about, let's talk about the afternoon. Look at this. Bubbles up right there on us. Now, for high school football, I know there's just a couple games going on, but I'd still rain gear it either way just to be safe. That's pretty light as it is. But then as we push into Saturday morning, watch the expansion of it, especially up into the north. And that's where we're going to get the heavier rain. Early Saturday morning, lasting all the way into Saturday night. Now, Sunday it does begin to peel away, but we're still looking at probably anywhere from 1.25 to 1.5 inches of accumulation. Much needed as well. Cold front too. Tell you what, 50s, not far off from where we should be. Just got spoiled for about 4 consecutive days. Coming up here in just a little bit, Tanya, where we hang through the first 20 days of the year, and we'll bust out the old severe thunderstorm risk map as we head into the weekend and fast forward to Thanksgiving as well.
All right, sounds like we've got a lot to talk about. Thanks, Michael. Well, Joplin City Council approves a new mask mandate for the city. The vote came last night after discussion and input from local health officials and the community. The mandate went into effect immediately and does not expire until the end of February. Councilmen Gary Shaw, Doug Lawson, and Phil Stennett voted against the ordinance, with Shaw and Stennett voicing concerns that masks are not necessarily effective at slowing the spread, and they feel citizens should be trusted to do the right thing. Mayor Ryan Stanley says he believes masks will be effective at slowing the spread and, moreover, help reduce workloads at the local hospitals. Councilman Chuck Koppel cited data from nearby communities like Springfield with mask mandates, saying while the cases are still rising, they're rising at a considerably slower rate than what we're seeing in Joplin. Well, counties in Kansas again have to make a decision on mask mandates after the governor Wednesday issued a new executive order. KOAM's Zach Dodge has details on what they plan to do as cases in Kansas continue to rise.
There's no win in this mask war.
Commissioners in Neosho County have decided to revisit a controversial issue, deciding to move forward with a mask ordinance, a reversal from their decision in July when they opted out of the governor's statewide mandate.
And at that time, I was having about 180 to 22, 180 saying, please don't do the mandate, and 22 saying, please do.
And at that time in July, Commissioner David Orr explains they only had 22 cases. Now they're at more than 500, and the feedback from the community has shifted.
This time we received a letter from 12 Neosho County doctors that were united, saying, we think it's time. It's time to mandate.
Now every county in Kansas will have to decide whether or not it's time, as the governor issues a second statewide mask mandate. Crawford County opted into the mandate in July and has worked to spread education ever since. They've also recently rolled out a mobile testing unit offering free testing in rural communities like Opolis.
That's really very important to break the cycle so that we can have our community healthy again.
Allen County also opted into the state mandate in July, not adding any local orders for it to be enforced. And in our other local counties, commissioners are set to meet as early as next week to decide what course they want to take.
Especially crossing county lines, it would be nice if we were united. This is not communism. We're not trying to dictate anything. We're trying to save lives.
Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Well, in a 2-1 vote last night, the Neosho County Commission decided again to opt out of the governor's new mandate. The Wilson County Commission has planned a public meeting for 6:30 on Monday at Fredonia High School. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, a better view.
A new NASA spacecraft aims to help scientists better understand rising sea levels. I'm Chris Martinez with why researchers call this an urgent mission.
And later, we're making a no-fuss Salisbury steak in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. On Saturday, NASA will launch a new satellite into Earth's orbit to help scientists study a growing threat. As Chris Martinez tells us, researchers are hopeful the mission will help them better understand the sea level's dangerous rise.
The world's biggest Earth-observing satellite will soon keep a watchful eye on the planet's rising sea levels from above.
Sea level rise isn't the same everywhere. Some areas it's going up faster than others.
Ben Hamlington is a research scientist with the Sentinel-6 mission. He says sea levels are now rising at an alarming rate. The Sentinel-6 will use radar altimetry to provide near real-time measurements of sea surface height, tracking changes down to mere centimeters. That high-precision data will help scientists better understand both the cause and effect of sea level rise around the globe.
These satellite observations are really critical from a planning perspective, both to tell us how sea level is changing now and then using that understanding to infer how it might change in the future.
Sentinel-6 will measure more than sea height. It will also record wind speeds and study the atmosphere, which will help scientists track climate patterns and better forecast the weather.
The satellite joins a fast-growing network of observatories from several space agencies working together to track climate change. Researchers say understanding sea level rise is among their most urgent tasks, with the number of people living in coastal areas expected to double by 2060.
As sea level continues to rise, more and more people are going to realize the immediacy of the problem and begin to see the impacts of this.
Sentinel-6 is set to carry out its mission for at least 5 years, with its replacement, the Sentinel-6B, already slated to launch in 2025 to keep the study going. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The Sentinel-6 will launch from California's Vandenberg Air Force Base Saturday morning. The mission is a joint operation between NASA and the European Space Agency. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
I'll admit it, I love diner food. Whether it's a homemade soup, a mile-high pie, or a comforting main dish, diner food just hits the spot. Join us today as I share one of my favorites.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Kind of interesting to note that our high today has already reached 69 degrees because that's kind of a magical number that we've been at for the first 20 days of November so far. We'll get there in just a second. I did want to point out that our record for November 20th, 75 degrees. Same thing that it was yesterday. We missed it by 1 degree. We got to 74 at Joplin Regional Airport, just missed time that record set back in 1950 and not quite going to get to the point of where we were in 2007. Now, our monthly precipitation, yearly precipitation for the year, still up 0.6 of an inch. So we're right on par right there. But if you go back to September 1, we're down about 4 inches. So we're going to play a little catch up here over the weekend and into next week. Now, here's what I was talking about our daily high being 69 today right now, because average high temperature for the first 20 days of the month, thanks in part to our good friends at the Southeast Regional Climate Center, right at that mark. And you'll notice that's the 4th highest on record at Joplin Regional Airport. Been absolutely spoiled so far, so you know Mother Nature's kind of going to even herself out. But she hasn't so far for the majority of our 4-state communities. Now, if we push up into the northwest where the front's first going to appear, we do see about a 10-degree difference right there from what we're seeing down in the southeastern portion of southwest Missouri. Wind hasn't been too bad today, just about 10 to 15 miles per hour. Barometer holding steady, it's going to drop. And you'll notice that humidity number a whole lot higher than what we've had past couple of days. Give you an idea of what's headed our way as we see plains temperatures sitting right there in the 50s. Big difference for us as you push down to the southwest, even the southeast, a little bit cooler down there in Arkansas as well. Started off extremely clean. What happened? Well, it's going to be like the rain for this afternoon. It actually just came right over us. Didn't generate from anywhere and track in. It's a case in point of that low pressure system actually getting a little bit of an opening. Now, all this is high up here, but with that jet stream flattening, the cooler temperatures, they have a chance to make that collision course with the color contour and the warmth that we see that we've had for the past 3 days. So, pretty much done temperature-wise. I'm going to say we kind of just hang steady. It's not going to be a massive cool-off anytime this evening, but it will get down into the 50s overnight, and then we'll be able to just continue those 50s all through the weekend. So once again, by the time we get into a little bit of high school football action, still got a couple teams playing, I'd go ahead and rain gear that up. It's not looking like anything severe tonight. As a matter of fact, it just kind of remains pretty light until we get into Saturday morning. Now, Saturday afternoon, that's when our tune kind of changes. Watch over here to the west. That's when we'll get the heavier rain that'll move in. Looking at anywhere from about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain. And every now and then, you get those little yellow pieces that pop up right there. You know that's going to be heavier. Now, this Saturday, say 7 to midnight time frame. That's kind of a key factor as far as what we're looking at for the majority of thunder and lightning. Other than that, we're going to be able to avoid any high winds or hail until it clears off there on Sunday morning. But you'll notice on the severe thunderstorm risk map, as we were talking about that west to east movement, that doesn't actually even qualify as the minimal area. Those are simply some November showers, and yeah, you may hear some thunder, may hear some lightning, but like I said, nothing severe. Now, that rain is actually going to come back on us for Monday into Tuesday. That's why I said we're going to play catch up pretty quick here over the weekend and the beginning of next week. But here's the positive part of it. Maybe for those of you that are going to be on the road, seeing some friends and family and social distancing while you do it, get that out of here by Tuesday. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we can actually have some very seasonable temperatures. That's going to be right on par for our average high and not have to worry about the threat of any rain. Tanya?
Yep. We made it through the windy, warm week, and now we're ready for a change.
Now we're going to cool off a little bit here overnight. But the rain is the key factor.
Just a little bit. I'm looking ahead to that Thanksgiving Day forecast where we might be able to get that outdoor football game if it's not raining. So
yeah, rain's kind of got you past couple of years, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Hasn't it?
So yeah.
Is that right?
It's always fun to do that. My boys are getting older. We got to get that game in.
I'm like Elaine, steel trap.
There you go. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Sergeant Ray Stout in the U.S. Army. The soldier from Chanute, Kansas, served with the 1,908th War Guard Commando Unit from 1943 to 1945. To Sergeant Ray Stout, we thank you, our 4-state hero. Well, today's recipe is not only delicious, it's also no stress and no fuss. Howard shows us how to make his no fuss Salisbury steak in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
As I travel around the country, two of my favorite things to do are meeting folks like you and visiting many of the diners that are scattered throughout our country. And although I have lots of diner favorites, the one that really stands out is a classic Salisbury steak. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a cross between a hamburger and a meatloaf smothered in gravy. Here's how to make it. We start by combining some ground beef, chopped onions, breadcrumbs, and a bit of salt and pepper. After mixing it, we shape it into 4 patties that look more like a football than a traditional burger, and then we sear them. Now we take these out, and in the same pan, we cook some mushrooms and onions. Once they're tender, we'll add some beef broth and Worcestershire sauce. We let this come to a boil before putting the patties back in. All that's left to do now is let everything simmer before thickening up the sauce. This looks diner perfect. Serve it up with some curly noodles or mashed potatoes for a complete meal. You can find the recipe for what we call No Fuss Salisbury Steak on our website. I know you're going to love it. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a diner dinner way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Remember, our warm temperatures are just about over as the rain will begin to develop this afternoon in what is going to be a wet and cool weekend, spreading out throughout the entire 4 states for Saturday morning and then lasting into Sunday. Now, after Sunday, that's when we will begin to clear out, but you'll also notice that we set up for temperatures that are much more seasonable as we fall back into the 50s for the duration of next week. Now, let's check in with Dow and a look at what's coming up tonight at 5.
Yeah, at 5, Michael, the holidays will be different this year because of the pandemic, but at least one thing is going to be the same. Kids want toys. And take a look at what is popular this year. Plus, as fewer people travel to see extended family this Thanksgiving, turkey prep could be happening right in your own kitchen. We've got tips on how to keep everyone safe and healthy, and graduation gets underway at Pitt State University. But most of the graduates still have a few more assignments to complete. Hope you join us. KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.